So yesterday I was going over, we were doing a lesson with a student, and we came across, we were doing a 12-bar blues, and we came across a lick over this dominant 7 shape chord. For this lesson we're gonna do this in a key of E. So our 1 chord is E, which we're going to use this shape for, which is the C shape dominant 7. So we've got our 3rd finger on the root of the 7th fret of the A string. That's our root. And middle finger is going to be on the major 3rd, so D string on the 6th fret. And then 1st finger B string, 5th fret. So you've got this C shape basically. But C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E up at the 7th fret. And then what we do, we put our pinky down on the 7th fret on the G string. And that gives us a dominant 7 chord. So that's an E dominant 7. And when you're doing a 12-bar blues, when you first start learning a lot and do a lot of lessons, you kind of always start with the 1 chord off the low E string root, like this shape. And then we go to the 4, and we go to the 5, back to the 1. So it's good to get into a practice, plus it opens up a bit more of the guitar with what keys you can work in. To start the progression with this shape off the A root. So that would be our 1 in the key of E. So the 4 chord would be an A. So in the same position, we just put on this chord, the E shape, E form of A7. That's our 4 chord, back to the E. And then the 5, just a whole step up from the A, so it's a B. What we did in the lesson, we come across a lick, like a riff, like a motif coming out of this chord, using all the notes of this chord, but playing them, sort of pulling the chord apart and playing the notes individually rather than playing a straight on chord. It was this lick. So basically what you've got here, you've got root, and then we've got the major 3rd, middle finger, but we can slide into that or hammer. So you've got root, hammer into the major 3rd, then keeping your finger ringing on that major 3rd, we're going to build this chord. We're going to put our 1st finger on the root on the B string, and then with our 3rd finger, ring finger, we're going to grab the flat 7, which is right here, 7th fret on the G. And we're going to finish off the riff with a quick stab on the root afterwards, on the B string. So super slow, we've got. So we're playing this dominant 7 chord, but we're riffing out of it. We're creating a simple motif where we're playing the notes individually, but it's just the chord tones. So we're hearing, all the chord tones in the chord, but individually. And then what we can do from that as a good practice, we can do a 12 bar blues just with this shape. So that would be our E, our 1 chord. And then we want the 4, so we do the exact same thing, but we slide up to the 12th fret. Here's our A root, and we do the same thing from this A chord. Back to the 1. And then we need the 5 chord, so we can come up a whole step from the A. Back to the 4. Back to the 1. Back to the 1 chord. So that's a good way to practice this concept, this device, just by moving it around and doing this exact same thing, but in over the 3 chords of the blues. So E, your 1 chord, A, to the 4, back to the 1, and then up to the 5, to the 4, back to the 1. And then what we can do from there, practice that in. I've got tabs if you want them, but you know, it's always better to just try and work this stuff out by sound, and you know, making a few mistakes along the way. That's how we learn more. It's, you know, it's a bit easy having tabs because you only learn it the correct way. If you try and do it just by watching and listening, you make a few mistakes along the way and you end up learning more. So what we can do, because we've got this 1 chord, we've got the 4 chord here, this shape of A, so we were using, when we did this for the riff, we can now do the same riff at this shape, which is basically what I've been doing in previous lessons. So let's look at the order of the notes. Root, slide into the major 3rd, root, flat 7, back to the root. So let's do that out of this A chord here. Okay, so root, 5th fret D, slide into the major 3rd, so it's coming out of this triad. So we slide into the major 3rd, then we want a root, so it's on the high E, 5th fret. And then the flat 7 is right here on the 8th fret of the B. So it's like the bottom of the A minor pentatonic. Root. It's like a minor pentatonic lick, but you're only playing the tones straight out of this A7. Root. Major 3rd. High E root on the 5th. So we're not going to the 5 here. We're going to the 5th fret on the high E, which is a root. So root, major 3rd, root, flat 7, back to the root. And that's what we can do for the A chord and the 5. And for the 5, it's just the exact same thing, but a whole step up. We're doing the same thing off the 7th fret. The cool thing about all this stuff is you only have to learn the lick once, and then you can just copy and paste it onto any other chord around the neck. As long as you know the order of the chord tones and where the chord is, you can learn the lick. It's as simple as that. He says. So the 1 chord. 4. Back to the 1. 5. 4. 1. Back to the 5. Back to the 1. And that is it, and it's just doing the riff over the 3 chords of the blues. So you've got 2 options to learn this riff so far. You've got the E here, the 4 chord off the 12th fret, exactly the same riff, and a 5 chord upper whole step, so root on the 14th fret of the A, exactly the same riff. Once you've learned that, you do the E, and then do the A from this shape, and then the B. So one more time. What I was doing was adding in little bits of the scale for each chord, the minor pentatonic and a bit of the mixolydian, just to add a bit of spice to it and make it sound a bit more, a bit more lead based in parts, which we will get to. But it's easy, it's the best way around to do it is to just learn that lick, that motif from the chord, moving it around, do it with this shape, and then we can start looking at the scales around each chord, and we can start adding in a few more licks and a few more tricks. Cheers. See you later.